Hello, everyone. I am appearing to you in my avatar form at the Spirit Heart Sanctuary in Second Life. I'm attempting to do some little shorts that I can share with all of you in sort of a nice atmospheric way because, right now I'm really not able to type too good until the shingles gets out of my experience. So, this is just sort of a test run. Last night I received very strongly the words El Shaddai. I'm going to type that into chat here so you can read it. There we go. Now I recognize it as a Hebraic name of God from J.J. Hertog's book, The 72 Divine Names. I'm not really versed at this book. I have it, I own it, but I really have not read it a lot. Once in a while I'm guided to it. But I did recognize it. However, I had no idea what it really meant. So I go to this book and I see that it is the Lord God Almighty represented as Metatron. It's the Metatronic aspect. This is the Lord who forges new spheres of power, protection, and divine creation. He also works to expand the covenant and to interconnect the worlds of the visible and invisible. He's also very much connected to reassembling matter from one stage of experience to another, and to finer gradients of light. And so when I read that, I realized this for me personally, having received these words, I felt it strongly that it connected to the whole experience of Light Principle 40, the reassembling of the Earth through what we are calling the ascension process into from World System 1 to a World System 2, the new Earth star. And there is a sort of a visualization that is given here about seeing oneself as a pillar of light with the sacred name manifesting through you, the 24 dimensions of the Elohim and Lords of Light. Let these 24 dimensions be as spheres of light that link the worlds of material and divine creation. Now, I also looked up some other things, and I'm going to switch over to my desktop for a moment, which you'll see because the camera is going to follow me there. And go to my little El Shaddai folder that I created today. Oh, that's I found an Ascension of Metatron game of all things. There's a game called El Shaddai, Ascension of Metatron, which I found rather interesting, but that is not what I wanted to share. Whoops, got my Facebook page up there now. Let's see, what was the one? What was the link here? Let's see if this is it. Well, this isn't quite it, but I'm going to look at it anyway. They have all kinds of suppositions about what the word Shaddad might mean. And really, when you read this, you realize they don't really know anything. I mean, they're just kind of guessing all over the place. But essentially, El Shaddai was used in the Bible to refer to God in certain instances. And with Hertog saying he represents the Metatron aspect. Now, one of the term may mean, Shaddai, God of the mountains. And of course, we see the mountain as representing the great divine pillar of light. Let's see if I can find it. Here's what I was looking for. Okay. God Almighty, El Shaddai, the Father, Mother God, proves sufficient for everything. The wonder of El Shaddai, the power to create new things in an old world, runs through the whole kingdom of grace. The everlasting yea is reached when we perceive that God is El Shaddai, the all-sufficient God. So, this led me to understanding, because as I was reading it, I was being shown inwardly. You know, when we talk about, or Thoth talks about the pyramidus radius matrix, and this, he says, is a bridge between worlds. As it forms on this earth, so it is creating a bridge between the old earth and the new earth. So El Shaddai, I feel, is a signal, a trigger, and I believe a mathematical code. And I can't prove that because I'm not a mathematician and I don't know how you translate the word into math. But this is what I'm receiving. To representing the actual action of transferring or creating, not transferring, creating in the old world new forms which act as a bridge into the new world. It's not like we just, wiggle our nose like Samantha and poof, we're there from old to new. That's kind of like, taking somebody and shoving them down in the ocean thousands of feet. Just suddenly, imagine the pressure changes and everything, or bringing them up to the surface without getting the bends. You have to go up gradually. It's like, we have to go through a process here as human beings, because we're not just taking our souls with us, we're taking our forms. And even those of us who will, move on from the body before this time, even those are going to find themselves having to go through a transference, a process of bringing their bodies, their codes of the body, not some particular body, but a coding of the physical form with them into the new earth. So it's not the same of just dying and passing over, so to speak. And even those who have passed over are going to have to go through some kind of a process to retrieve those codes and bring them through. So what I'm seeing is Shaddai is representing that experience. So let's look at it just a little bit further back on this passage here. It says, the sense of the Hebrew word Shaddai is all-powerful, almighty. The word El also means God and or strength, so it appears that there is a double emphasis on thought here. There are some 48 uses of the term in the Old Testament, and studying the combination of the whole makes it very clear that in most of these references, the emphasis is on God's all-pervasive power, influence, and authority in all of creation. Well, let's pause on that a moment and say, well, so what is God? What did they mean when they wrote it? And what is Thoth, the Thoth extreme meaning in regard to that? From the Thoth extreme, we get that, God is the divine in all of us, in everything, in every living thing, in every star, in every place, in every experience. But there's also a source. The sourcing is not the end all, but the sourcing is from our birthing field, where we come from. When Thoth says the divine source, he means that that is the godness that we as souls were birthed from. Again, not the end all of godness, I'm sure, but as much as we can understand. So God really represents the omnipotent presence in everything, just bottom line. But to the Hebrews, he was a being. And if we, the ancient Hebrews, if we see also the intervention possibly of extraterrestrials and ultra-terrestrials in this whole mishmash, which is certainly a present factor, they could have been interpreting their God through the good guys and the bad guys and the indifferent ones, whoever happened to pop up in a form of an expression that they considered way out there and certainly had to be God, So there's a lot of confusion in both the Old and the New Testament, but especially the Old in regard to what is God. So that's why El Shaddai turns up in so many different places, meaning so many apparently different things, but it kind of all comes together in regarding to being all powerful, the bottom line God, the God of gods, the power that God has in all of us. So, of course, that means that the Christians, as it says here, the term the Almighty is found in the New Testament. Today, most Christians accept the meaning of El Shaddai as being both the Almighty, all-powerful and only true God, and the one who has the further, finally, and completely revealed himself in the New Testament and in the Lord Jesus Christ to be all in all. Well, the Christians are going to do that. They're going to hang the sign over Yeshua's head in regard to that. And I'm not diminishing Yeshua. I love Jesus. I love Yeshua, Yeshua, his true name, and all he represents, and being the vessel for the Christic divine archangel after the time of baptism, all of this. But, there's a lot could be said about Buddha, too. So, they tend to try to pigeonhole Jesus, and this is one of the pigeonholing ways they're using by saying, oh, well, he's the El Shaddai, and that's the end of the story. He's representing the whole thing. I don't think so. I think the El Shaddai is a title, an energetic title, not a title like, that you earn through being a king or a queen or a president or something. But it's a title of spiritual presence. It's a veil. It's a sheath that is worn. So Yeshua, in the time he was embodying the Christic consciousness, the Christic archangel, as Thoth calls it, would have been an El Shaddai. Not the El Shaddai, but one of them, and perhaps the El Shaddai for that era and that time. And certainly his unique role would have qualified him to take it to a new level, perhaps, as he took a lot of things to a new level. But where does that leave us? Why did I receive this name last night? There was a reason for that. I mean, I could have received a lot of interesting stuff, but I got that instead. So, what does that really mean? So I'm going to go now to Thoth's beingness, what I'm calling the Thoth extreming, and ask right here and now, because I haven't done it before, just right now, I'm going to ask, why was I given this? I'm going to put this on pause because I want to take a little time with it, and then I'll turn it back on again. Well, what I'm receiving from him is that El Shaddai is also a giver of, a bestower of sheaths, of veils, of persona. It isn't just one, it is a giver of. So you might have, let's say, Yeshua being the El Shaddai of the time, but he's also the one ordained to give, to present, and, as one of those who has that presence within him. So Thoth is also an El Shaddai, and I'm sure there are many more. So he's saying to me that not just him, but the whole, Merkaba of El Shaddai's, I don't know any other way to put it, um, is present for the earth right now in developing and bringing forth the Pyramidus Radius Matrix, which has that other very esoteric name that I can't pronounce. That's why I asked for a more practical username, which is Pyramidus Radius Matrix. And in developing this and expanding it, human beings, you and me and others, are going to be brought into the fold, not through some kind of, elitism, but simply through becoming the vibration of the El Shaddai frequency. Not the El Shaddai like the master beings, la la la. No, not that. But what I'm trying to say is that there is a certain frequency upon which those who are the El Shaddai can then bestow upon you, me, and others this mantle of energy. This is not a gift. This is not a blessing. This is not a special thing. It is a meeting of vibrations. And it is coming to us not because we worked for it. Oh, we are so worthy. We did this and that. And yes, yes, yes. And now we're worthy. And so now we can become, gifted with this mantle from the El Shaddai. No, it's because as a human race, we have developed as a human race to a certain level of, get this, need. N-E-E-D. Now we think of being needy as negative, and it's not good. Okay, to be imbalanced and have a lot of need, and you want this and you feel you need that, but that's false need. That's thinking you need something, not really needing it. What Thoth is speaking about here, and I say speaking because I got a heavy word to use. He's not talking to me, but what he's saying here is that there is a true need. Human beings, anything, everything have certain true needs. It's kind of like they say, oh, well, you shouldn't give people things they have to work for, blah, blah, and all this stuff. Well, what about the true needs of a human being that doesn't have the ability to receive it? The true need of food, the true need of shelter, the true need of comfort. And I'm not talking about wealthy comfort, but basic comfort. These are all true needs. And as true needs, they are also rights. They are rights. They are inherited rights, inherited spiritually from the beings that we are. So if we look at it from that perspective, being given from the El Shaddai, and we're going to speak of the El Shaddai as a grouping of masters, beings, whatever, that have this mantle, this presence within them. The El Shaddai say you have a need as a human race. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to pay for it. You are souls of God, let's use the term, and you are God. And so you don't have to do anything but just open your arms and receive it. And when you receive the mantle that is offered you by the El Shaddai, you don't become El Shaddai, not in that quick process, but you become blessed. I said the word blessed isn't working. No, let's scratch that word. You become confluent with the vibration of holding in your being all the abundance that fulfills your true needs. And when you reach that point, it's not about, okay, I have this filling now, so now I can, I can have a roof over my head, I can have food on the table. All these things certainly can come out of it. There's no question. But it's deeper than that. It's richer than that, because we're talking about a vibration and energy that is not just an immediate fix-it. It's an energy that comes from the depths of your soul lineage, of your Merkabic family of light, back to the beginning of the soul seeds. And so, as such, when you receive this lineage as a token, not a token, let me use another word there, as a response from the El Shaddai, you were set upon a path that may veer dramatically from the one you were on. Now that doesn't mean that you're going to just suddenly you're a baker and going to become a banker. I don't mean that kind of a change, although those things can happen. I mean internally, and you're already on the spiritual path. But when you receive the response of the El Shaddai, you walk among those who, in a figurative sense, can suddenly walk upon water where it is needed. I'm not talking about literally, so don't go out and try to walk on water. But I'm talking figuratively. It's like Thoth is giving me that picture. When Jesus said, "Come follow me," and they walked out on the water and they didn't sink, and they were like, "Oh my God," Well, it's like this. This is an example of the fact that when you have a true need, and that need is responded to by the divine sourcing and beingness, as it was when Jesus called them out onto the water. They had a need to follow him, and this is a true need, not an egoic one. They did walk on water to get to it. So if you think of it metaphorically, although I have no doubt that it actually happened that way at the time, you're going to find yourself being able to do things and go places in spirit and physical and whatever that you would never have thought you could before. And at first, it's going to be kind of scary for most. I'm not going to program you that it's going to be scary. It may not be, but it could be, because it's the unknown, and you're thinking, I can't do that. I've never done that. I don't know how to do that. That's not my talent. No, I can't do that. But you're going to be called out onto the water. And you're going to find that the calling, the need is so great that you're going to take that first step. And when you do, you're going to find that you're not sinking. So you're going to take a second step. And this is the way, Thoth is saying, that we together, all of us, I say all of us, not just guys that are listening to this video, I'm talking about humanity, starts walking on water, starts building the expressions of spirit that move us into directions and into realities that we could never have dreamed possible. And as such, we will start creating and living within what Thoth has given me the term, because I can't pronounce the other, the Pyramidus Radius Matrix. And this matrix is like a precursor, a preview of the new earth, and yet we'll be here on the old earth. So how is that going to outpicture? I honestly don't know. I have little tiny insights, but I can't tell you that. I think that it's a kind of experience that we're going to have to experience to know. We can't say, well, it's kind of like this. Yeah, I see it's like that. I think if Thoth gave me a picture of it, I wouldn't be able to still comprehend it. The only way I guess I could comprehend it, maybe, is if I actually moved into it in some kind of astral state. I say any of us. Maybe we could experience it to some way then and come back, like people that, die and come back, explain it somehow. But even those people that have out of body, near-death experiences, and they come back and they try to explain it, they really can't. They say, well, I'm trying to explain it, but, it's just so much more than this. So it's that kind of a thing. But to draw it back into what we're talking about here, about the El Shaddai, I believe, and I'm receiving, that he gave me this to tell all of you that now is the time to begin to receive these responses, these light sheaves of responses from the El Shaddai. So I'm going to ask Thoth now, what can we call these things? Because they're not El Shaddai itself. It's coming from that. So what do we call these responses that we're wearing, that we're embodying? What are they? So I'm going to ask that. Well, this was something that took me a little doing to get from him, but he's using this word hakabah. He said in ancient Egypt, way ancient, like way ancient Egypt, it was called hakabah, and it's an eminence, a shining from the heart, but it's also covering and pervasive everywhere that your experience is. So it is. It is he likened it into the robe of rainbows, or the garment of rainbows. So I didn't get a really, name that kind of sticks with you. I was hoping for something a little more, that I could remember. But anyway, so the Hakaba, I guess, is what we'll call it. And so, how do we open to this? Not too many people are going to hear me speaking about this, okay? I know that. It's not like I'm going to be on a pulpit and millions of people are going to hear me talking about this. It really doesn't matter because it has nothing to do with that. I'm sharing this with you, those of you who feel resonant with my work and would like to hear and develop this with me together and understanding and experience, and this is good. I'm not marginalizing it. But there's a whole lot of people out there, and they are going to be experiencing this as well, and they don't need names for it. They don't need to, you don't need to lay it all out for them. It's going to be a very personal experience that inwardly is going to be profound, and each person is going to experience it slightly differently, sometimes dramatically differently. But it's all leading to the same thing: being able to become a part of creating the pyramidus radius matrix and expanding it and developing it, evolving it, and living within it. And it's not a place on the planet you go, whether you're in New Jersey or Hawaii. It is beyond that. And yet, I do know that when we begin to experience it more and more all over the world, we will see more and more real physical demonstrations of it, like we're beginning to do with all these pillars of light in the sky and all these things. They're saying, oh, it's HAARP, it's HAARP. No, it's not HAARP. Now, I can't say every single thing out there that's phenomenon in the sky isn't HAARP. There might be some that are. But everything that I have seen, Thoth has nixed as being HAARP. It is the pyramidus radius matrix developing, and the ultra beings helping with that process. But they're not the only story in town. It's us. We live on this planet. It is our DNA directly, and our soul presence intelligence directly, that creates this world. They're related. They're kissing cousins, and certainly they're part of the experience, but they're only helping us do what it is our place to do, and our experience to create and live. So we're already seeing these things developing, and more will be coming. So when you're called to walk on your particular little patch of water, remember that you can call upon and be responded to by the El Shaddai. And you can do that before you have to walk on your water. It's like as soon as you finish listening to this, or you can cut it off in the middle and go and just be with it. Be with it in your heart and mind. It's not like some big process you have to do. Although if you need something to do, you can just say El Shaddai, El Shaddai, and think of the energy, not the old time, experience of it, but what it really means and the energy it's provoking in your internal being. And also bring forth your true need into your conscious expression. Maybe you can't get at it all, but it might be good to focus on that. Certainly, we all have basic needs, food, water, clothing, take care of our family, blah, blah, and that's all important. But let's go deeper than that. Let's go deeper. What is the truest need of the soul now, your soul, living in this incarnation? All else will follow. All else will be forthcoming and fulfilled if you can find that seed of seeds. And that's the seed that you plant. And that's the seed that grows your garden. Thoth wants me to speak a little bit about the relationship between Jesus, Yeshua, Yeshua, the being, the man, the incarnation, and the El Shaddai. Yes, he was a representation. He was an El Shaddai. But more than that, because of the unique reason for the incarnation of Yeshua as a human being, and then as one who received the Christic archangel into his being at the time of baptism, which was a unique thing for the planet. It has never happened before or since on this earth. He brought the level of the incarnational experience of God as the El Shaddai presence into the earth. He brought it into a new level, and it had never up until that time been brought into the earth in that way. Now there are others who have the mantle of El Shaddai that are actually incarnated, and some have incarnated before him. But it is true that, according to what Thoth is telling me right now, that Yeshua brought it to a new level. He fulfilled it on a level so that others after his time may reap the benefits of that. And we're reaping the benefits right now because it is a level that we can, that will respond to our need. Now, you don't have to be Christians. I'm not talking about Christianity here. I'm talking about energy and presence and what the truth of Yeshua was and the truth of the Christic archangel and emergence with him. Not the religion or the myth around it, but the truth of it, according to what I'm receiving, of course. I can't proclaim ultimate truth about anything, but I'm talking about what I'm receiving, what Thoth is telling me as the true truth of this fabulous combo. So from that expression, the Christians are kind of right in the sense that, the fundamental Christian outlook, they are limiting it extremely. But it is true that Yeshua was the El Shaddai of the new experience, of the new dimension of the fulfillment of that on earth. Of course, the story continues. There's never the end to this story. And so in conclusion, at this time in conclusion, I said there's never the end, and then I say in conclusion, but I mean to this discourse I'm giving here. From the Thothic perspective, El Shaddai is the godness that demonstrates the all-powerful pervading presence of the divine in everything. There is no what do I want to say, wobbling on this. It's like, when God speaks, that is it. That is the way. And I say when God speaks in us, when God speaks in a flower, when God speaks in a puppy dog, you can't argue with, you can't try to bargain with divine law. And that's the message, the tongue of God, so to speak. So El Shaddai is the all-pervading, powerful presence of God. And in that sense, who can change the rules? God can change the rules, and only God. That means the universal principle, the law in which we abide, can be changed, but only by that which created it. And that which created it has to come out of the true need expression of universal solvency. That may be a little bit esoteric, but I don't know any other way to put it at the time. So that said, I'll give you that to think upon, and thank you for listening. This was a lot longer than I thought it would be.